Alright guys, what's going on? This is Ben Herstick back with another episode of the Armchair Armdrager podcast. As always, you can follow this podcast on Twitter at Podcast Armchair. You can follow myself on Twitter at ChurroSolider. And you can follow the website I write for, All Things Combat, on Twitter at Things Combat. For those of you that don't know, All Things Combat is a website that covers pro wrestling, MMA, and boxing. We have articles that go up usually every other day. Sometimes we have a lot of news to cover, so we have articles every day. We are working on a SummerSlam review where we have all of our pro wrestling writers review every single episode, every single SummerSlam from the first one up to last year's. We're currently up to 1992 at the start of recording. By the time this comes out, we'll be at 1993. I have covered 1989 and 1990. And the next one I am doing is 1996. So yeah, there's that. And also I've been on two recent episodes of the Popheads podcast. My friend Dominic runs a podcast of his own called Popheads Podcast, which is your one-stop shop for all things pop culture. We sat down a couple days ago to talk about the Godzilla movie, Godzilla King of Monsters. And just today, we finished talking about E3 2019, the big video game convention going on right now. And that is actually up already. I will have a link to it in the description below. So this past week of wrestling, oh man, it's been something. First off, we had Super Showdown. From what I heard, it was a very bad show. Goldberg and Undertaker should not have been the main event, but it's the world we live in, so what can you do? There was, if I remember hearing right, there were two really good matches. There was Balor versus Andrade, which everybody thought would be good anyway, because it's those two and they're so good in the ring. And there was, I'm blanking, Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston. I've heard those two were pretty good. I heard Triple H versus Randy Orton wasn't as bad as most expected, which is very good, considering it was a show nobody was excited for. It was nice. I wasn't watching it. I was actually doing something. I forget what, but something. And I heard that Mansoor, I believe is how you say it correctly, won the Andre's Mania. He won the biggest battle royal ever, and it was nice because he was a Saudi Arabia recruit, so nice to see him get the win there. It's a weird time for WWE. A very weird time. There's so many things you can say. I still say to this day, until he actually does it, Vince needs to step down. I am a firm believer in that. I think if Vince stepped down, a lot would be different. For one, Sasha Banks would be on the screen and not sitting on her ass in Boston, that one. Or Jamaica, or wherever she's at now. Instead, she would be out there performing. Because Vince doesn't understand how to use good wrestlers, it seems. And you look at this as like a big example. Raw's been bad, and there's so many easy fixes. SmackDown's starting to get bad, and there's so many easy fixes. I hope when AEW starts their TV contract, WWE sees this and says we need to fix this. And the only way to fix this is for Vince to step down. I don't care if Triple H has to cause a mutiny. I don't care if there has to be a riot. Vince needs out. It is simple and easy to say. And if you don't like what you're seeing in WWE, you don't have to watch. You do not have to watch. We have other alternatives out there. We have New Japan, All Elite Wrestling, when that gets going to be a weekly thing. There's All Japan. There's the UK independent scene, Rev Pro, Progress, WXW is a thing. I'm trying to remember every single wrestling promotion I can think of. AAA, Smash Wrestling. There's so many wrestling companies you could watch instead, but you choose to watch WWE, which is a product you're not enjoying. And I'm not saying it's the viewer's fault, but it's tough. But there are some things that I do get. I do understand what they're doing with Alexa Bliss and why she's challenging Bayley. I think they do want to have Lacey Evans get another shot to show just how good she is. I don't see it personally. I don't think she's that good, but somebody does. Spoiler, it's probably Vince. But, oh well. She's getting the chance at Bayley because I think they view Bailey as a very safe worker. They view her as somebody who can be who is the safest of the women's wrestlers in the ring. And you look at her style in the ring, it really helps with that. I think Bailey might be the safe. I don't think she's ever injured anybody now that I'm thinking back on it. Because Becky, to no fault of her own, broke Ronda's hand by Ronda punching her in the stomach, apparently. But I do think I am actually fine. It's also going to be to help Alexa get rid of the ring rust, because she has been out for a little while. Whether it was injury or not, we don't know for sure, but we'll see. I do think it will be nice to see her back in the ring because she has improved a bit, not like to the extent of Carmella. Carmella went from being called up way too early to looking like a perfect part of the women's revolution in the women's division right now. But Alexa is getting better, and I think her against Bailey might be a really, really good match that nobody's talking about. Also, what else nobody is talking about is 205 Live. 205 Live it's been so good since Hunter took over, and I can't stress that enough. And I look at it, there's so many reasons to watch that show. You have Tony Nese, the Cruiserweight Champion. You have now Chad Gable's there. You have that amazing Fatal 4-Way and that amazing Gable versus Gallagher match. You have all these talented wrestlers, and they're actually using them for the hour they get. They actually do a really good job, which is nice to see. Of course, it's Triple H, and he's doing what he can with that roster because, it's not as full as it could be. What I would like to see, we already get it anyway with what's the word? We see it with main roster and Raw and SmackDown. There's a blurred line. Who knows who's where, really. I wouldn't mind seeing that with 205 Live and NXT because there's a lot of really, really good NXT talents. And I think that's who should be on those shows. But we'll see. As I was explaining this to one of my coworkers, you look at the past 5 NXT champions, they've all roughly been a cruiserweight, or a junior heavyweight, for lack of a better term. Because you look at Andrade, I think he's listed at like 211 on Cage Match. Aleister Black, I think he's listed at 209. Tommaso Ciampa, who's probably at 205. Johnny Gargano, who's under 205. And Adam Cole, who I believe is roughly 210. So you have these guys who are at that weight, and they can continue to make the product better on 205. And you have the established names from NXT. They could draw in ratings, which I am very, very fine with. But it's a weird thing. And there's another thing I want to talk about too. NXT has a wealth of talent. They have an amazing group of talent. There's not enough room on NXT programming to get every single person on there, which is a shame because they're all so talented. There is a solution, and I think it's one we probably will see. I don't know how soon, but at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the next year. NXT Japan and NXT Europe. For lack of a better name, I think that's the case there. NXT Europe could actually be interesting because you could put a lot of the guys from NXT UK into NXT Europe. Walter's from Austria. You have Marcel Bartel is from Germany. Same with Alexander Wolf. Fabian Eichner is from Italy. Trying to remember every single person on the NXT UK roster. I know they signed somebody from, where was it? He represented Ghana in a match I watched in him versus Angelico. I'm blanking on the name so hard. He's from somewhere in the UK. Not the UK. He's from somewhere in Europe, I think. They have a lot of talent. Ilya Dragunov's from Russia. That's another one. Killer Kelly's from Portugal. Jazz Garrett's from Germany. You have all these people who are talented European wrestlers. And yeah, NXT UK makes sense. But if you do NXT Europe, you need talent. There you go. And NXT Japan, there's a reason they signed Kushida. And there's a reason they signed Io Shirai. Yes, it's because they're two of the best wrestlers in the world, but also because of the fact that I think NXT Japan is going to be a thing, and those could be easily your top 2 names. You have Kushida run the men's division, and you have Io Shirai run the women's division. It would be very interesting simply because of the fact that they are two very established names. Everybody who knows Japanese wrestling, modern Japanese wrestling, not like the old history Japanese wrestling, but if you know like just current day Japanese wrestling, the current Japanese scene, you know of Io Shirai and you know of Kushida. So it's a little weird simply because of the fact that you have these names, but it's like, how do you get them all on TV? They are doing something at the TV taping, so I guess if you don't want spoilers for NXT, pause the video or plug your ears. I actually read the spoilers. I don't have the time to watch the show. I feel very bad about it, but I just don't have the opportunity to because I always seem to be working on Wednesdays or I'm busy. There it is. William Regal announces an 8-man tournament for NXT talent that haven't yet. The article says haven't yet made TV. The winner will get a title shot of his choosing. In the tournament, you have Boa versus Jordan Miles, ACH. Isaiah Scott, Shane Strickland versus Cameron Grimes, Trevor Lee. Bronson Reed, Jonah Rock versus Dexter, Sam Shaw. Angel Garza Jr. His name is still Angel Garza, which is nice. And Joaquin, I believe it's Joaquin. It's Joaquin. Joaquin. I think it's Joaquin. Joaquin Wild, who is DJZ. The winner gets a title shot of their choosing. I am following along, and it's actually a very smart idea, simply because of the fact that now these guys get on TV and we get to see them, but you have all this talent. They can't all go to NXT UK. They can't all go to NXT Europe. A lot of these guys will be big in Japan. I think ACH already is big in Japan. Kushida was big in Japan. Still probably is. Keith Lee would probably be great in either or. There's just so much. I think NXT expansion, I've had a conversation with a couple people about this. NXT expansion is a very big question I have. I think it'll be very good because of the fact that now you get to see all this talent from everywhere that you wouldn't see otherwise. You could see all these WXW talents. You could see all these Pro Wrestling Noah talents or the Dragon Gate talents. Imagine if one of the NXT Japan deals is with Dragon Gate and one of the current champions is Pac. Imagine how pissed off Pac would be about that. I guarantee you he would leave in a heartbeat again. But I look at it, there's so many opportunities out there for them to have working relationships with people. And to be fair, the three good things about WWE right now, NXT, 205 Live, and SmackDown's roster simply because of the potential it has. And I think it's tough to talk about because the SmackDown roster is stacked with talent. And Raw does have talent too, don't get me wrong. But SmackDown's is just stacked from top to bottom. There's so many big names that are so good. And it's like, you can't get them all on TV. Yeah, so what can you do? How do you get them all on TV? If the plan is to have Triple H take over the company at one point, at some point, I think he will. I hope it's soon. Have him start with SmackDown. Simply because, A, he already does 205 Live after SmackDown, so he's already there. And B, you also have him then running one of the flagship shows and not the flagship show. So you have a guy who's learning how to run a wrestling company with actual wrestlers. And I would love if they said, oh, this isn't about sports entertainment anymore. This is pro wrestling. And go with the NXT model where it looks like they actually do that on 205 Live a bit. They have a focus on the TV stuff. And like after one of the big pay-per-views, they begin the build to the next one. They announce the number one contender, and then the number one contender and the champion don't wrestle for very long. Or they don't wrestle much, is a better term. They don't wrestle a lot before the pay-per-view. And at the pay-per-view, they actually have a really, really good match. Name a bad Cedric Alexander or Buddy Murphy championship match. Name a bad Tony Nese championship match, because that match with Daivari was actually very good. And now he's going to face either Tozawa or Drew Gulak, or both in a triple threat. Maybe that's where I don't think Nese is going to have a long reign. I've been enjoying it. I think it's a good reign so far. I think Gulak would be the one to end it, simply because of the fact of Humberto Carrillo is probably the heir apparent to 205 Live, and you have Drew Gulak run roughshod through the face division, and then the one person he doesn't beat is Humberto Carrillo, and that is where he drops the title. So you can build up a new star in that way too, and it's a lot like the NXT formula where these guys don't wrestle very often, especially if it's a champion and a challenger. But when they do, it's special, and you are invested and you care. I look at it though; it's NXT. NXT is a tough one. I want NXT expansion. I'm happy with NXT expansion. There's so many talented areas, but like they showed a map. This was a while ago. It had all of Europe highlighted in yellow. It had the NXT in America with the logo. It had Japan colored, and it had China, like a bit of China covered. The problem is there's still a lot of regions. There's two regions that I don't think need NXT yet. That's NXT India and NXT the Middle East, simply because of the fact that the wrestling from there isn't as well known or isn't as big of a scene, I think. Is there money to be made? Absolutely. That's two of the biggest economies in the world. If you're about making money, those are the two NXTs that need to happen next. Not if you're about just pro wrestling, you want NXT Europe and NXT Japan next. I think Hunter would rather have NXT Japan and NXT Europe. But if it's a money grab, it's going to be Middle East and India. But on that map, they didn't highlight Australia or New Zealand. They didn't highlight Canada, and they didn't highlight Mexico. Canada and Mexico, you can kind of argue they just fill into the NXT in North America, the one in Florida. And you can be like, okay, that makes sense. Maybe performance centers at least there. I could see that happening. And you could even build the some of those stars up for themselves. Like some of the people who just come in and they're like, oh yeah, we want to be wrestlers, and you can build them up. But for like established names like Garza Jr. and for a Canadian example, Team 3.0, those guys get to go to normal NXT, whereas like Jonah Rock and Nick Camacho, two guys from Australia. No, Camacho's from Northeast. Oh god, who's Jonah Rock's partner? Sexton. I forgot his first name, but it's Sexton. You have those two, and they have to get lucky to go to NXT North America. I would like to see, actually, I forget who it was that brought this idea up to me. It was somebody on Twitter. It might have been like one of my good friends who I don't remember on Twitter. If that's the case, I apologize, and I would give you credit, but they weren't. I can't remember the name, and it's annoying. I'm sorry. They could do NXT Japan, but it's Japan, China, New Zealand, Australia. Like the NXT. Oh god, what's the term? It's not the Gulf. For lack of a better term, like NXT Ring of Fire. Because there's a lot of like volcanoes in that area. So I could see that. And then you even have access to American Samoa and Tonga, where you've had the likes of Tama Tonga, obviously, Tangaloa, and Bad Luck Fale come out of. Three very talented wrestlers. And you could get into that little pool. Maybe you get a couple more Anawahis too. Who knows? It'll be interesting. I do have an article where I want to go a little more in depth on the working relationship thing. I don't want to spend too much time on it on this podcast because there's a big tournament coming up and there's a big show. It was the fourth big show in a row. And now we have a week off to recover before Stomping Grounds, which looks like it's going to be dog, insert the last word here. It's going to be a bad show. I hate saying it's going to be a bad show. It's Super Showdown 2, essentially, where it's all rematches, except for Bayley versus Alexa, whatever the Cruiserweight match is, because the Cruiserweight title wasn't on the line in Saudi Arabia. Alexa and Bayley. And I think I would like to see if this is the plan, a six-pack challenge for the U.S. title. Samoa Joe, Bobby Lashley, and the other heel I'm forgetting. Not Baron Corbin. Oh, God, who was it that teamed with them? Cesaro, that's who it was. against Ricochet, Braun Strowman, and The Miz. And then you could, maybe that's how you get the title on Ricochet? Because it seems like they really like Ricochet. There's a reason he's on TV every week. But I could also see them just being like, oh, it's Strowman destroying 5 other guys. Yay. I'm tired of Strowman. I don't want Strowman anymore. I've said this before, but it's what it is. Stomping Grounds is next week. I will have my predictions live on this podcast. Well, I say live. They're live when I record them, but they're not live when they go up. It is Dominion from New Japan. That show was amazing. I am very happy I woke up at 3. No, I missed this one live. I saw the Best of the Super Juniors final live. Dominion was very good. Very, very good. The last 3 matches were very fantastic, I think. There is somebody I do want to talk about in depth on this before I even get into the show. It's not any of the guys who announced for the G1 or that they won in the G1. It's, and I hate to say this, it's SANADA. SANADA just looks like he doesn't care anymore. And I've talked about this at length with somebody. If you want to see somebody who is just mentally checked out and doesn't care anymore and wants to go away, look at SANADA after the IWGP Tag Team Championship match. He just does not want to be there anymore. He just does not seem interested. He has been the heir apparent to New Japan in championship glory since he came into the scene to help Naito win the IWGP Heavyweight title. And all he's done is tag team stuff. Let him go after singles titles. Let him go after the never open weight, the US, the Intercontinental. Let him win the World Championship. He is such a talent in that ring. He is so good. If you want to see somebody who gets pro wrestling, look at SANADA. SANADA understands it. I keep hearing reports, not recently, but I remember hearing reports a lot, semi-recently, that he has interest in WWE and WWE is very interested in him. If they can get SANADA, if they can get somebody of that talent for NXT or NXT Japan, that would be great. If All Elite Wrestling can sign SANADA, that's great. If New Japan can figure out what the hell to do with somebody who could be a top star for them, that would be great. But I don't think New Japan has anything for SANADA. They have nothing. There is a reason Shingo Takagi joined LIJ. It's not just to stand there and be the junior heavyweight to fill the void that Hiromu left for leaving with injury. He's going to be a heavyweight champ at some point in his career. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I think he will be. The issue, though, is if he goes heavyweight, that makes 4 in LIJ. That'd be 4 heavyweights and 2 juniors. Yeah, you could win all the gold, but 4 heavyweights feels like a lot. 3 is a good number. 3 is a very nice and balanced number. You have Evil, SANADA, and Naito right now. Soon you're going to have Evil, SANADA, Naito, and Shingo Takagi. But it's tough because I don't think SANADA is good friends with Cody, Kenny, or the Bucks. It almost seemed like with New Japan, they kind of have like little rankings. Like you stay with your group. Like Bullet Club stays with Bullet Club, LIJ stays with LIJ, Chaos stays with Chaos, and so on and so forth. I don't think SANADA talked much with Bullet Club when Omega, Cody, and the Bucks were there. It almost feels like he kind of was like, I'm not interested in whatever you guys are talking about. It's kind of like what Will Ospreay said at the end of the Best of Super Juniors. But does SANADA go to WWE? Does he go to somewhere else? Does he stay in New Japan? I would love to see SANADA do like a little tour of the UK because I think he would do amazing in it. Look at Mako Satomura going to Progress. It would be a really big thing. Imagine if they could get SANADA on the same show as Mako. That is huge. But I don't know when his contract ends, so it's tough to even talk about at this point. There's just it's such wasted potential right now. It's like talking about WWE the way New Japan treats SANADA. It's so upsetting because there's so much talent and they don't use it right. And it's like, ugh. But that it's only SANADA. He seems like the only person that's kind of checked out. Evil still looks invested. Bushi is still great. That would actually put LIJ to when Hiromu gets back and if SANADA stays. That's 4. It'll be 6 if I can count right. Naito, Evil, SANADA, Takagi, Bushi, and Hiromu. That's 6, yeah. I don't know. It just feels like it's a little overcrowded. Chaos always felt really overcrowded for me. Right now, Bullet Club is at a good place where it's only got like about 6 guys, I think, because that's such a big thing. It's like, oh no, they have like 9. Well, Bullet Club's always been a big thing, to be fair. It does feel overcrowded at points with Chase Owens and Yujiro in there, but it's like, yeah, I get it. They need something to do, and New Japan must like them. To be fair, I think they're pretty good too. You have Chaos, who's got a lot of people. You have Gucci Japan, which is still here and there. You don't see much of them. So, like, SANADA doesn't really have a place in New Japan anymore. And if they're the ones telling him to dye his hair and his beard, as soon as he leaves, I want him to post a picture of him with the black hair and the black beard. I like original SANADA. I don't like blonde hair SANADA. I like the pirate gear. The pirate gear looks incredible. But blonde SANADA, no. I'm done with that. Never was a big fan of that anyway. The blonde little like highlights, yeah, that's fine. But like the whole freaking thing being blonde, no. Anyway, that's my bit on SANADA. I did want to talk about him. I didn't know how to like segue into him. I guess that was the best way possible. So Dominion, again, like I said, really good show, really fun. Started off with Jon Moxley, the new IWGP United States Champion, going against Shota Umino, the Young Lion. Shota did a rope flip before the bell. That's not very Young Lion-esque. I know he also hit a missile drop kick from the top rope, and then there wasn't much after that for Shota, as Moxley just kind of took over. What was interesting after the match, Moxley said he wants in the G1. I remember live tweeting the Best of the Super Juniors. Somebody said it might not work with the All Elite Wrestling schedule. Apparently, it's going to work because Moxley wants in. And I would be surprised if they didn't put him in because he is a huge name. He just left the WWE. So that's somebody who I think would be in the tournament. Also, after the match, he took Shota with him. I don't know if that's them saying, hey, Shota's ready to be out of Young Lionhood and become his own person, or if that's like them saying, oh, this is going to be like a new team where Moxley's like a mentor to Shota and show him how to be a real pro wrestler, which I would like very much actually. I'm still mad that that Moxley has his normal pants, not his. He has the shorts. He doesn't have his normal cool pants from Double or Nothing. But whatever. I still think that Shota has a bright career and Moxley has a fantastic looking career outside of WWE. I'm just very curious. Like I said, I'm curious always as to what's next. Where do we go next? What could we do next? And obviously, the answer apparently is maybe well, not apparently. Maybe the answer is Shota and Moxley as a team. Then we got Shingo Takagi, who defeated Satoshi Kojima. A very hard hitting match, very good again. I forgot Satoshi Kojima leads a group called Bread Club. Let that name sink in for a little bit. The name of the group is Bread Club. Shingo looked really good. First match against the heavyweight, and it was actually an interesting story. I didn't watch most of the post match interviews from Best of Super Juniors, partly because a lot of them would be in Japanese, and I don't speak Japanese, so I wouldn't really understand it. But Shingo said that he thinks Ospreay beat him because Ospreay has that experience against heavyweights, where Shingo doesn't have that in New Japan. He's also a lot of heavyweights around the world, but not in New Japan. So I gave him Kojima, which was nice. Good to see Kojima out there. Still looks amazing for his age. I think the match was a little bit longer than I expected. I thought it would maybe go about 8 minutes and went about 11. I have the match card in front of me. That's how I know this. It felt like, I don't know if it was just Kojima not being able to get up as fast or Shingo getting up too fast. It felt a little mispaced at times. That might have just been me. I think it's tough. I think Shingo is going to be a big deal. I don't know if a victory over Kojima would be the thing to get him there, but it is a good starting point. After the match, Shingo said he wants in the G1, which would be really big because he would be the first junior heavyweight in quite a while. Last one I think was Liger in mid-2000s. First junior heavyweight in the G1 Climax in a long time. And he actually looks like he could go. I tossed this idea out to a coworker of mine. What if we see at Wrestle Kingdom 14 Shingo Takagi challenging Tomohiro Ishii for the Never Openweight Championship? That would be something, I think. It could also be a good direction they're heading because Ishii did win the title later in the night, but more on that when we get to there. Jushin Thunder Liger and Yoshihashi defeated Suzuki-gun, Minoru Suzuki, and Zack Sabre Jr. Very surprised by this. Suzuki and Sabre are the big name team here. They know their way around the ring. They're actually the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, I believe. I'm going to look it up real quick. Not on this tab because that is my match card. I need that. Yoshihashi got the pin over Zack Sabre Jr., so that does actually set Yoshihashi up for a Rev Pro Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship match. He's getting it at Kizuna Road. Or is it Kinazu Road? I think it's Kanuza Road. I gotta look up two things now. Kinuza Road. No description, so it sucks. Or I just can't spell. It's probably that I can't spell. I was surprised though because it didn't. For a long time, it didn't seem like they wanted to use Yoshihashi. Well, it's not like they didn't want to use him; that they didn't use him. But now it looks like they're at least a little invested in him. So it's like, okay, now maybe they're actually interested. It's Kizuna Road. That match, I believe, is on night 1. It might actually be the main event of night 1. No, it's not night 1. Doki's on tour. We may actually be getting more Doki. I'm fine with this. I am actually looking at the match cards now. Oh wait, these are for sooner than I thought. It's the 15th and 16th that are the important days of the tour. Or no, 16th and 17th. I believe 16 we get the names in the G1. The 16th is headlined by the IWGP Junior Heavyweight titles, Roppongi 3K defending against Bullet Club, Phantasmo and Ishimori. And then the next day should be, in fact, I think it will be the match for, no, it's not. He's challenging for it at some point, I know that much. What else did I come on here for? I don't remember. Oh, Suzuki, right. Well, I can just click on Zack Sabre Jr. for that. Like I said, I believe they're the Rev Pro British Tag Champs. But don't quote me on that. But to see a team like Yoshihashi and what's his face? Jushin Liger. I forgot Liger's name before. What's his name? Yoshihashi. I'm so bad at names. They are no longer champs. That's what it is. Was it Aussie Open? Yeah, it was the Aussie Open at Rev Pro Epic Encounter. Okay. But this was a surprise because of the fact that the team of Suzuki and Sabre have been teaming a lot longer than Yoshihashi and Liger. So it was a nice little surprise early in the show. Yoshihashi has looked a lot better since returning from injury. I am curious though if he is still going to be a member of Chaos or if he leaves. I could see Yoshihashi being the fourth member of Villain Enterprises since they're still looking for a fourth member. It's still Marty, Brody King, and PCO. But again, like I said, solid match. Everybody looked pretty good. Liger and Suzuki is going to be a money draw at Wrestle Kingdom, I feel. The next match was the 6-man tag pitting Hiroshi Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, and Ryosuke Taguchi against Jay White, Chase Owens, and Taiji Ishimori. This one felt just weird to me. It always is a little weird with Taguchi matches because Taguchi's whole offense is based on the funky weapon. Spoiler alert, it's his butt. But that wasn't the weird part. It just felt a little off pace. And like 6-man tags are very common in New Japan. Gets names on the card, gets you to show off how well you can do. With this one though, it was like we had it just seemed there was some disconnect. I don't know if it was Chase Owens and Hiroshi Tanahashi. I don't know if it was just everybody else in the match, but it just didn't feel right. Eventually, it started to get going, and then there was a sudden weird end where Tanahashi just pinned Chase Owens, and that was it. And I was like, wait, what? That wasn't high fly flow. That wasn't even twist and shout. But now all of a sudden, it's just like, why is this match over? What move is that from Tanahashi that we have never seen before? So it's like, why and how to me? Everybody here looked at least decent. I think, we look at it. They I would be surprised if Tanahashi is not in the G1. Juice will definitely be in it. Jay White's already announced. Tanahashi, it's tough because he's still injured. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not, but if he's not, it's a bigger story than if he is. I think it's because it would be the first G1 without the ace in a very long time. I think you have to go back till at least the 90s. Maybe even earlier if there's no Tanahashi. But still, it was a good enough match. I really hope they let Ishimori get some time off now. If him and Phantasmo are victorious in winning those junior heavyweight titles, let him get some time off, and maybe he misses the G1 tour and he's there for the final, as like the setup like their next feud for the Destruction tour. But he has the neck injury. He's either selling it really well or it is like a very not a serious injury, but it is a neck issue. So I would really hope he would be able to stay off the tour. But if he has to be there, he has to be there. And if anybody would do a job, it'll be Taiji Ishimori. It'll be interesting to see, especially considering Bullet Club. Tama Tonga said he doesn't want in the tournament. He doesn't want to be in the G1. He wants to go to somebody else. I don't know about Tangaloa's stance on the tournament. And we haven't seen Fale in quite some time. So, curious how Bullet Club will be represented. Will it just be Jay White? Will it be Jay White and Fale? Will it be Jay White and Tama Tonga? Will it be Jay White and Tangaloa? Will all four of them get in and the tournament field expands to 24 and I'm happy. If not, then I'm very upset and confused. So then we got to the 5 big matches of the show. I think it's 5. 1, 2, 3. Yep, 5. Tomohiro Ishii challenged Taichi for the Never Openweight Championship. This was a good, brutal, hard-hitting match, Japanese style that you would expect. There was a point where Taichi, who isn't Suzuki-gun, he had his, his mic stand and his, the bag Izuka used to wear to the ring that had the iron claw in it. And Suzuki just tossed it up the ramp like, you don't need this. Come on, fight me. And Ishii seems to be the guy that brings out the best in Taichi, which is very cool to see. Taichi is very talented, I think. He can be very talented. He just needs to be able to bring it to everybody, not just Tomohiro Ishii. In the end, Ishii got the win to win the belt for the first time in quite a while. I believe they said it's the first time since 2015. A New Japan Cup, Tomohiro Ishii, Taichi. Ishii, Evil post-match interview, Taichi. Yep. Doesn't say. Great. Yeah, I believe it's the first time in like 3 or 4 years that Ishii's held the title. Well, not a title, that title though. Very nice to see, very happy for him. He's going to be the champion going into the G1. So anybody who beats Ishii in the G1 is in line for a Never Openweight Championship match. And Ishii will gladly give it to him because he wants to break everybody's nose, probably. He just has that bowling shoe ugly offense. I also expect to see both of these guys in the G1. Ishii is already officially announced. Taichi is not yet. The 16th or the 17th we will know for sure. I would be very surprised if 2 years in a row Taichi is not in. He officially made the jump to heavyweight last year, so it kind of made sense why he wasn't in it. But this year, I very well expect him to be there. And I don't expect either of them to win. I would lose my mind if Ishii won the G1. He's a lot like Hiroki Goto. He's a good set of hands, but he's never really been a major player. I would be happy if at one point in his career he does win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Just one reign. It doesn't have to be the longest in history, but a decent reign. Maybe from like a Wrestle Kingdom to Dominion, 6-month reign. But it's just tough to think that he could ever get that spot. Taichi's ceiling, I think, is mid-card at best. He's a very solid wrestler. It does seem like, though, he's not even the successor in Suzuki-gun. He's going to be a henchman level guy. And he probably will, at some point, get the Intercontinental or even the, United States Championship. But I wouldn't be surprised if that takes a little while. Especially considering who's the champs right now. Naito and Moxley. So maybe we don't see Taichi get that level until 2 years, 3 years from now. We'll see. Next up was the Guerrillas of Destiny defending the IWGP Tag Team Championships against Los Ingobernables de Japón of Evil and Sanada. These 4 just get tag team wrestling. They are really good. Even if I do think Sanada just doesn't look happy anymore in New Japan. The big thing here was they tried to one-up each other, and then the Guerrillas just went to guerrilla tactics. Being the cheap, sleazy heels that we all know them and love them as. Very, very good match overall. There was no like super-duper memorable moments, just very solid wrestling. Evil was in, I want to say it was like a Boston Crab hold for a little while. Eventually he was able to make the tag to Sanada, and Sanada came in flying around and everything because he's the lighter of the two. And eventually they slowed him down. But then all hell broke loose, and you saw the tag teams everywhere. Jado got in the ring after a referee knocked down. Bushi got him out. I've said this, more Bushi is a good thing. I think Bushi is very, very underrated for a junior. He's not like the high-flying juniors that we all love, but he's still a very solid wrestler. I think it's tough because there's so many talented wrestlers out there. But I think this is the end of Evil and SANADA as a team. Maybe they're in the same blocks as the G1. Well, same blocks in the G1. And then maybe New Japan starts to build up another team. Maybe it's, Fit Juice. Maybe it's Killer Elite Squad. Maybe Taichi and somebody. Maybe it's Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. Or a team that somebody threw out there that I really like. The idea of, at least. Yoshihashi and Goto. You get two guys who are main event capable guys. They both have the ability to get to that level. But they're not there just yet. I do think that it's tough to think where even those two would fit in, but they would fit in very well in that tag division that is very, very thin. There's one bad thing about New Japan, aside from the fact that they don't have women's wrestling yet, is that they have a very thin tag team division. It's Guerrillas of Destiny, LIJ, everybody else, essentially. Which is a shame, because there's some very talented tag teams in there. Fit Juice, Goto and Yoshihashi, if they do it. Yano and Ishii was actually really good. Makabe and Honma. Makabe and, what's his name? Hinare. There's a lot of talent there that they don't utilize just yet. Then was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. The champion Dragon Lee defending against the best of the Super Juniors 26 winner, Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is continuing his Dragon Slayer gimmick, where he slayed the dragon in Shingo Takagi, and now he's going to slay Dragon Lee. And he did. And can Dragon Lee please stop doing suicide dives like that? He is going to break his neck at some point, I think. It's very scary. It's very high risk. It's very, for lack of a better term, I think, dumb. But it is not going to stop, I think. It's going to be his way he does it. It just doesn't look safe compared to other suicide dives that you see. But that should not take away from the fact that this was a very, very good match. Two very good guys, two great junior heavyweights, just in the ring going against each other. I did really like the moment where Will was on the top rope. Dragon Lee did a jump to the top rope, a Hurricane Rana to the floor, and Ospreay landed on his feet. And you just see the reaction from Kevin Kelly, Chris Charlton, and Don Callis, where they're yelling, "He landed on his feet." They're just going crazy. The crowd's going crazy, because then Dragon Lee is like, "Yeah, I hit a cool move," and then he's like, "No, wait, he landed, didn't he? He landed on his feet." Just like sudden realization from Dragon Lee. Very, very good. It was a good match. It's tough to follow for Ospreay. The match he had with Shingo Takagi at the final, because right now that's match of the year to me. And to follow that up with another really good match is great, but you always expect more, it feels like, with wrestling. And it's like we're in this day and age where if we don't get more, we feel like we're getting less, if that makes sense. But it is what it is. We can't do anything about it. Very good match, very solid. Will Ospreay is your new junior heavyweight champ. After the match, he didn't say it to Kevin Kelly. He said to Kevin Kelly at Southern Showdown he wants, what's his name? Robbie Eagles is the first challenger. Still curious if Eagles is going to turn good. He does seem to have that little knack about him. But in his backstage press conference, Ospreay said, "Put me in the G1." There's another guy that wants in the G1. Alrighty. Also, before this match, before I forget, Katsuyori Shibata's music hit. And everyone was like, "Oh, cool, Shibata. We all love Shibata." And he came out in a suit, and he pointed to the entrance ramp. His music was still playing. Out came Kenta. Former Hideo Itami. Kenta. He left WWE. We haven't seen him at all in the independent scene. He's in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's left Noah. He's no longer there. To be fair, he doesn't have anything else left to prove in Pro Wrestling Noah. It's time for him to take a chance, bet on himself, make some money. The money's in New Japan. Good for Kenta. I am excited for him. Kenta wants in the G1. There's another guy that wants in the G1. Right now, that's Shingo, Takagi, Will Ospreay, and Kenta, who have all said they want in the G1. And all three are junior heavyweights. If another guy gets in, that's 4. That would be a very, very interesting thing. Now is the line between junior heavyweight and heavyweight getting blurred, because they all can put on such good matches. After the Dragon Lee Will Ospreay match, Kota Ibushi defended his IWGP Intercontinental Championship against Tetsuya Naito. Another fairly good match. Really good. After the suplex to the floor, that doesn't look like it was supposed to be the floor. To me, at least. After that part, it was like, is Ibushi okay for a little while? And it's like, okay, these guys are just going again. Which is totally fine by me. I love Naito versus Ibushi. The big thing was that suplex. It wasn't that this was a match that these two have had multiple times in the past. It was that suplex that was amazing to look at, but very, very scary and very, very injury possibilities. But there was the spot where he, with that suplex, it doesn't look like he was supposed to go sideways. It looks like he was supposed to go straight back. I don't know if that falls on Ibushi. I don't know if that falls on Naito. I don't know if that just falls on weird positioning. It looks like he was supposed to go straight back onto the ring apron, not straight to the floor. It just looks like it wasn't supposed to happen. It might have been the plan all along for all we know. But it's just so much risk there that they don't need to take. We know how good Naito is. We know how good Ibushi is. You don't need to kill each other for us to know this. Just stick to wrestling. Don't go too crazy. And then in the main event, Kazuchika Okada defended his IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Chris Jericho. This match was weird. New Japan matches are always usually pretty weird, but this one was a little extra weird. Because with Jericho, he always goes crazy on the outside, and it's like, why isn't the ref counting right away as they get out of the ring? It's always weird, especially when it's Red Shoes, and it's like, you see he wants to do his job, but he can't because that's not when he's supposed to do it. So it's like, what can you really do as a referee in that situation? But it happened. There was Jericho's DDT onto the table. Okada didn't do the stand on my head option. He elected for the safer go down with Jericho onto my knees option, which is very nice to see. Okada's not going to take those kind of risks. Surprisingly, it wasn't the Rainmaker that put him away, I think, if I remember right. It was a, not a roll-up, but rather like a sit-down one. Like, Jericho was going for something, Okada sat down on it, and got the pin that way. That caused Jericho to go into a frenzy, and trash the ringside area, attack Okada. He was about to put Okada through a table when Tanahashi stopped him. And then in Jericho's post-match interview backstage, he said, maybe I'll be in the G1. So there could be another name in the G1. It's just everybody's in the G1. You want a spot in the G1, you get it. You want a spot in the G1, you get it. I want a spot in the G1, I get it. I want to be in the G1. Harold Mania, make it happen, please. That was Dominion. Dominion was very good. And that leads us to G1 speculation. This has to be a 24-person field. Right now, officially announced are Kazuchika Okada, Jay White, Tetsuya Naito, Kota Ibushi, Evil, Sanada, Tomohiro Ishii, Jeff Cobb, and Jushin Thunder Liger. Wrestlers that have said they want in: Jon Moxley, Shingo Takagi. Wait. Okada, White, Naito, Ibushi, Evil, Sanada, Ishii, Cobb, Liger. Is that 9? Yeah, 9 officially announced. Moxley wants in. Takagi wants in. Kenta wants in. Ospreay wants in. Jericho might want in. That's 14. That's only 6 spots left. And look at some of these names that are still not officially announced. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, Minoru Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., Toru Yano, Bad Luck Fale, Togi Makabe, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, Satoshi Kojima, Yuji Nagata, David Finlay, Juice. I don't even think I have Juice Robinson listed. I might have him a little lower because I forgot about him. Sorry, Juice. I thought I had him in. I guess I don't yet. Oh well. Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Brody King, Jay Lethal, Taichi, Tomoaki Honma, Anabu Nakishi, Chase Owens, Mikey Nichols, Toa Hanare, Hikuleo, Lance Archer, Shota Unamo, Ryosuke Taguchi, Shota. I said Shota already. Cole Cabana, Davey Boy Smith. There's so many names still not announced for this match, this tournament. You expand it to 24, that would go from 6 to 10 more spots, which is very, very interesting. I think let's pencil in Tanahashi. Let's put in Yoshihashi. Let's put in Suzuki. Let's put in Sabre. That's 4 spots right there. Put in Fale, that makes 5. Let's go Brody King with 6. Taichi is 7. Juice is 8. So 2 spots left for at least 20 plus names. Maybe we see Matt Taven make an appearance. Who knows? G1, there's so many matches. We could see Ospreay versus SANADA is something I would love to see. Evil SANADA would be great. Ibushi versus Ishii. Again, why not? Jay White versus Ishii, because I don't think we've seen that yet. I want Moxley versus Ishii. Imagine that. We could see a reformed Yoshihashi try and right some of the wrongs of his past and try and get some revenge from past G1s. We could see Suzuki make a run again. We could see Sabre Jr. get another run. Sabre tied for the block win last year, but lost on the tiebreaker due to losing to Ibushi. I believe it was Ibushi. No, it was a loss to Omega, who Ibushi beat. Right. Jeff Cobb is officially in term. Jeff Cobb versus Ishii. Give me that right now, please. Give me Jeff Cobb versus Kenta. Give me Jeff Cobb versus Fale. Give me Jeff Cobb versus everybody. I love Jeff Cobb. There's so many big names that are in this tournament. This is going to be the biggest and the best G1, I think, in a very long time. Last year's was great. Can it top last year's? Absolutely. I still think last year's was all messed up with All Elite Wrestling being announced and them not even announced. It was like probably talked about backstage though. I feel like that might have thrown it all off. And I feel like last year Ibushi was supposed to win it before the announcement of All Elite, the even idea of All Elite Wrestling. And our main event at Wrestle Kingdom would have been Ibushi versus Omega. And Omega would have lost to his best friend in his final match for New Japan instead of Hiroshi Tanahashi. Nothing is wrong with losing to Hiroshi Tanahashi, but it's like, why do we have to see the ace in the main event again? It makes just no sense. God, like, trying to think of who could fill these last 2 spots. I'd love to see Jay Lethal make the trip over. I've said this. I want to see... We see it in the Best of Super Juniors. We saw it this year. We had Ring of Honor got 4 guys. They had Skrull, they had Bandito, they had Gresham, and there was going to be Flip Gordon. CMLL got 2, and Rev Pro got in somebody. They got in Phantasmo. And CMLL got in Dragon Lee, the champion. And Teton. Can we see more CMLL and Rev Pro representation in the heavyweights? Yeah, you're not going to have people know them as well, but it could be something big for them. Especially you look at it, a lot of the British guys are lighter, so who knows? With Ospreay, Kenta, and Takagi wanting in, it could make sense. The reason some people might question why do you have Ryosuke Taguchi on the list of possible names, because of the fact Taguchi beat a heavyweight in the New Japan Cup. Taguchi can go with the heavyweights. Imagine if they put Taguchi as the 4th junior heavyweight into that group. And then maybe we see a thing down the line where it's like, because I think Ospreay, Kenta, and Takagi could be in future G1s. I think this is just the first year for them. They're going to be in a lot more to come. So maybe there's like a fourth one who could like enter the G1, but like New Japan management gets to pick. Something along those lines would be very interesting. Like some of these names, Chris Jericho in the G1, and maybe that could be used to set up his match with Tanahashi. There's 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. You have to have big matches. I think Jericho versus Tanahashi could main event one of those shows. It would have to be the first one, because the second one will be main evented by whoever is the IWGP champion going in versus the G1 Climax winner. And I feel like the first one will be main evented with Liger's final match, yeah, against probably Suzuki. So you could have the semi-main for that night on night 1 of the Wrestle Kingdom. Jericho versus Tanahashi. That would be something I would love to see. There's so many names in New Japan. And this is where I wish it was like this for WWE. There's so many names. You're like, how can I fill this out and not feel bad about missing somebody? Whereas with WWE, it's like, how can they have this person and not use them at all? Now it's like, and you don't feel bad about them not being used in the show because there's so many other talented people getting in the spot. But with New Japan, it's like, how can I leave this person out of this tournament and still feel good about it? Because they're so talented. There's so much talent in the world of pro wrestling right now. It is a fun time to be a wrestling fan. And I believe that is all I have for this episode. This is the second short one I've done. A lot of them have been over an hour and a half, so back to under an hour and a half. So cool. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at ChurroSolider. Follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. I write articles for All Things Combat. For those of you that don't know, All Things Combat is a website where we cover and write articles about pro wrestling, MMA, and boxing. We have articles roughly every other day. We do 5 articles on the weekends. We are currently doing a review of every single SummerSlam, and we are rating them from 0 to 10. We are up to SummerSlam. When this comes out, we will be at SummerSlam 1993. I don't know who's writing that one. My next one is 1996. I have written about 1989 and 1990 so far. And I'm just going to think. Oh, yes, I made an appearance on the Popheads podcast. The Popheads podcast is a podcast run by my friend Dom. He talks about all things pop culture. I was on there for a review of Godzilla, King of Monsters. And we just did a review today that went up today about E3 2019. A lot of good games, a lot of bad things, a lot of microtransactions could be coming our way in the world of gaming, but that's a story for another day. That's a story for another podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, tell me what you thought. I would love any and all feedback. If you like what you hear, please think about hitting subscribe. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will catch you guys next week where we will have Stomping Ground predictions and maybe even the G1 Climax draw and possibly a breakdown and predicting the G1 Climax in one sitting. Thank you guys so much. I can't guarantee we see that G1 thing though, so we'll see. And I will talk to you guys again next week.